Quiet Revolution, why the most powerful thing you can do is shut up and listen. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we empower and inspire Black professionals, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to rise, thrive, and own their power. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce like sweet softness whispered in French, and today I had the incredible honor of sitting down with Taleeka Worsham, a woman whose testimony is absolutely transformative. Taleeka has walked through trials that would shatter most people, yet she's emerged not just surviving, but thriving, ready to share wisdom that can genuinely change lives. She's making the world a better place by reminding us that our greatest power doesn't come from talking louder or working harder, it comes from tuning in, absorbing wisdom, and learning from the testimonies of those who've walked the fire before us. Her message is simple but revolutionary. Listen and learn. And in a world that's constantly screaming at us to do more, be more, hustle harder, this message is the sacred pause we've all been craving. Here's the truth we need to sit with today. We live in a culture that glorifies noise. Noise in our schedules, noise in our minds, noise in our mouths. We're taught to speak up, stand out, make ourselves heard. And don't get me wrong, there's power in that. But somewhere along the way, we forgot the other half of the equation. We forgot that real wisdom, real transformation, real breakthroughs, they don't come from talking. They come from listening. And I'm not talking about the kind of listening where you're just waiting for your turn to speak. I'm talking about the kind of listening that changes you, the kind that makes you uncomfortable because it forces you to sit with truths you've been avoiding, the kind that requires you to shut down your ego, your defenses, your need to be right, and just absorb. Taleeka's testimony taught me something profound. She said that listening isn't passive, it's not weak. It's not sitting back and letting life happen to you. Listening is an act of courage. It's choosing to be present enough, humble enough, and brave enough to let someone else's story reshape your own. And for Black women, especially those of us who've spent decades in survival mode, this hits different. We've been conditioned to be strong, to hold it together, to carry everyone else's burdens while quietly suffocating under our own. We've been told that asking for help is weakness, that showing vulnerability is dangerous, that listening to our own needs is selfish. So we stopped listening. We stopped listening to our bodies when they begged for rest. We stopped listening to our hearts when they whispered for softness. We stopped listening to the wisdom around us because we were too busy trying to prove we didn't need it. But here's what Taleeka reminded me, and what I want to remind you. Listening is not surrender, it's strategy, it's power. It's how you turn pain into purpose, survival into strength, and testimony into transformation. Let me break down the three non negotiable takeaways from my conversation with Taleeka, because these aren't just ideas, they're lifelines. First, active listening turns pain into power. Taleeka's testimony shows us that when we tune into other stories, and more importantly, when we tune into our own lessons, we build unbreakable resilience. Every scar you carry, every battle you fought, every moment you thought you wouldn't make it through, those aren't just memories. They're blueprints. They're teaching you something, but only if you're willing to listen to what they're saying. Second, learning from diverse voices accelerates breakthroughs. Don't just hear, absorb. Absorb from mentors, from peers, from people who've walked paths you're just starting on. Absorb from people who don't look like you, think like you, or move like you. Because the fastest way to leapfrog obstacles is to learn from someone who's already cleared them. And third, testimonies are teachable moments. Your life, your battles, your survival, they're not just yours, they're blueprints for someone else's breakthrough. When you share your testimony, when you let people learn from your journey, You create a ripple effect of empowered Black excellence that reaches further than you'll ever know. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real life because theory is cute, but application is everything. Let's talk about Ursula Burns. If you don't know her name, you need to. Ursula Burns became the first Black woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company when she took the helm at Xerox in 2009. But her story didn't start in the C suite. It started as a mechanical engineering intern in 1980 in Rochester, New York, navigating a corporate world that wasn't built for her. She faced systemic racism, gender bias, and a company teetering on the edge of collapse. As technology shifted the entire industry, the odds were stacked against her in ways most people will never understand. But here's what set Ursula apart. She listened. She listened intently to employees, to customers, to mentors like her predecessor, Anne Mulcahy. She absorbed Xerox's DNA, learned its heartbeat, and used that knowledge to pivot boldly. Ursula didn't pretend to have all the answers. She didn't walk into boardrooms acting like she knew everything. Instead, she asked questions. She paid attention. She learned the company inside and out, not just from manuals and reports, but from the people who lived and breathed Xerox every single day. She understood that leadership wasn't about being the smartest person in the room, it was about being the most attentive. And because of that, she didn't just survive, she stabilized Xerox, grew revenue, and mentored the next generation of leaders. She shattered glass ceilings with unyielding grace. And she did it by mastering the art of listening and learning. Ursula credited her success to attentive listening. She said that understanding stakeholders, truly understanding them, was the key to her ascent. That's Taleeka's message in action. That's what happens when you stop trying to have all of the answers and start absorbing the wisdom around you. Then there's Melody Hobson. Melody is a financial powerhouse who built Ariel Investments into a $1 billion firm in Chicago. She broke into male dominated finance as a young Black woman, battling investor skepticism and market crashes. The world told her she didn't belong. The world told her she wasn't enough. But she didn't listen to that noise. Instead, she listened to the people who could teach her something. She shadowed founder John Rogers Jr., absorbing Wall Street wisdom, learning client needs, mastering the game by listening to those who'd already won it. Melody joined Ariel at 19, right in the middle of economic chaos in the 1980s. She could have been intimidated. She could have faked confidence and pretended she knew it all. But instead, she listened. She learned. She absorbed Rogers' vision for Black led investing, and she transformed Ariel into a Wall Street titan. She secured spots on Obama's economic board, elevated Black wealth building, and pushed corporate diversity and financial literacy into underserved communities. Melody's success wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room, it was about being the most attentive. She understood that wisdom doesn't come from having the best pitch, it comes from having the best ears. That's power. That's what Taleeka is teaching us. And finally, let's talk about Rosalind Brewer, affectionately known as Roz. Roz led Walgreens from 2021 to 2023 and served as CEO of Sam's Club before that. She's a trailblazing Black woman executive who tackled retail disruptions, racial inequities, and boardroom bias during some of the most turbulent years in recent history, right in the middle of a global pandemic and social unrest. But here's what made Roz different. She listened deeply to associates, to communities, to data. She didn't just make decisions from the top down. She learned to drive inclusive strategies by tuning into the voices that mattered most. She boosted Walgreens' health equity initiatives, skyrocketed Sam's Club profits, and revolutionized retail with equity programs that earned her spots on Fortune's most powerful women list. Roz climbed from frontline roles at Kimpton Hotels in the 1990s, honing her listening skills through every step. She advanced Black economic empowerment, through supplier diversity, and influenced national corporate DEI standards. And she did it all by embracing the power of listening to diverse voices for solutions. These three women, Ursula, Melody, and Roz, they didn't just succeed because they were smart or talented or hardworking. They succeeded because they mastered the art of listening and learning. They turned testimonies into teachable moments. They absorbed wisdom from mentors, peers, and even their own mistakes. And they used that knowledge to build empires. That's what Taleeka is calling us to do. That's the revolution she's igniting. But here's the thing, we can admire these women all day long. We can applaud their success, share their stories, quote their wisdom. But if we're not willing to do the hard work of listening ourselves, then we're just spectators. We're just consumers of inspiration instead of creators of transformation. So here's your challenge this week: commit to one listen and learn session daily. Tune into a Black Mentors podcast, journal your own testimony, shadow a peer's story, sit with someone whose perspective makes you uncomfortable, and just listen. Don't defend, don't debate, don't dismiss, just absorb. And here's the kicker: act on one lesson by Friday. Don't just consume, apply, don't just hear, transform. Because here's the thing, listening without action is just noise. Learning without application is just theory. But when you combine the two, when you listen deeply and then move boldly, that's when magic happens. That's when you shift from survival mode to soft girl era. That's when you reclaim your joy, your rest, your freedom without guilt, without apology, without explanation. Taleeka's testimony reminds us that we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to carry all the weight. We don't have to be strong all the time. Softness is not weakness, it's a radical act of self love. And listening, truly listening, is how we access it. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room already knowing what you were going to say before anyone else even opened their mouth? How many times have you dismissed someone's advice because you thought you knew better? How many times have you ignored your own intuition because you were too busy performing strength? We've been taught that leadership means having the answers. But what if real leadership means asking the questions? What if real power means admitting you don't know? What if real wisdom means shutting up long enough to let someone else teach you something? This isn't just about professional success. This is about survival. This is about healing. This is about breaking generational cycles of trauma and exhaustion. Because when we listen to our elders, we honor their sacrifices. When we listen to our peers, we build community. When we listen to ourselves, we reclaim our power. And here's the beautiful irony: the more you listen, the more people want to hear from you. Because wisdom doesn't come from those who talk the most, it comes from those who've learned the most. And you can't learn if you're always talking. So I want to leave you with this. What if the most revolutionary thing you could do this week isn't to speak up, but to shut up? What if the most powerful move you could make isn't to assert yourself, but to absorb someone else? What if the breakthrough you've been praying for, working for, hustling for, is waiting for you in the silence? Taleeka Worsham reminded me that testimonies are sacred. They're not just stories, they are survival guides. They are love letters from the universe telling you that if they made it through, so can you. But you have to be willing to listen. So here's my challenge to you. And I mean this with every fiber of my being. Stop performing, stop proving, stop pretending you have it all figured out. Start listening, start learning, start letting other people's wisdom reshape your world. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who are brave enough to be quiet. It needs more people who are humble enough to learn. It needs more people who are soft enough to let love, wisdom, and testimony transform them from the inside out. This is the soft girl era where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve. One episode, one boundary, one breath at a time. Now go listen, go learn, go live. And most importantly, go be the testimony someone else needs to hear, because your story, your wisdom, your survival, it's not just yours, it's ours. And the world is waiting.